The focus of Ground Zero today is versatile hiring process. This is Sir Nhoie, and here is my viewpoint. First, let us clarify the taxonomy. Versatile, meaning the expected usability and functionality, and it exceeds singular expectations, but rather there will be multiple expectations that will benefit the system. Hiring. This is the process of qualifying applicants to be employed in a certain system. Lastly, process. This is the methodology used to formally hire a person to be a member of the system. These are the simple meanings of the words in our Ground Zero focus, which is versatile hiring process. The sensibility of every action performed by each individual, whether in a system or in personal consumption, is always the logic such an action possesses and not merely an effort to address a need. Often, the immediate need that we see blind us to the reality that such a need will not stay for a long time, but the actions we execute will haunt us for ages, if not for a lifetime. That is why in this context, let us hit our focus topic today, versatile hiring process. Well, let us start with the most glaring errors of hiring that sometimes we fall into and yet think that they have made the right decisions even though there will be future struggles with ethics, excitedly waiting as a result of this execution. Number 1, nepotism. Well, nepotism is a practice that enables one person in the hiring process to aid in the expediting of the hiring of a person with blood relation, or if not, someone with a very deep sense of friendship or beneficial relationship that may involve debt of gratitude in common instances. Well, though how correct the object of the action may be, the process remains questionable and to a practical degree very wrong. Remember, it's not the qualification of the person that is being questioned, rather the process of hiring that evidently shrink to accommodate someone in the process. Number 2, debt of gratitude, otherwise known in the local Filipino dialect as utang na loob. Well, this is a common practice that some said is done to clear the conscience of payment for a past favor done. Well, what these persons in the hiring parlance failed to realize is the fact that the payment for such a gratitude will create a deeper wound in the conscience. Thus, healing of the conscience in this matter is a great fallacy. It's a great error. Remember, hiring for convenience benefits the people running the system and not the system in general. Well, often, it won't really affect the system right away, but when the expertise and educational mileage will already come into play, then there goes the quicksand of talent and the vacuum of logic, which will often be detrimental not only to the personnel of the system, but to the system in general. Number 3, non-versatile options. Well, often there is a need to logically assess our options, especially if the need of the system seems to be very specific. Well, to point out the obvious, let us have a very glaring example. If there is a vacancy for a driver in the company, then there are two possible applicants. First is a qualified driver, and the second is a qualified driver plus a certified mechanic. Then the option becomes very obvious in terms of usability and versatility. Well, it would then create a questionable preference if the one hired is still the non-mechanic driver. Well, why? Because when there will be overpopulation of drivers, automatically the excess being also a mechanic can serve another purpose without being a surplus in the system. So let us try to recap. The greatest threats to a versatile hiring process in a system are: number one, nepotism; number two, debt of gratitude payment; and number three, non-versatile choices. Now, it is never enough to know the logic of hiring the right person for the system. It should be applied more than known, and it is not a secret that this person should be: number one, free of nepotism at any degree, at any angles; number two, free of obligations from payment of favors such as debt of gratitude or other favor enhancing agreements; and number three, one that can provide not only one expectations but at least two to three or even more possible abilities, skills, or academic training when already infused into the system. Furthermore, one should be hired because they are really qualified and they have the capacity to prove it. Let us look at one possible angle in a system. What if someday the system will have to cater to a lower production of labor or services? Meaning, if it caters to people, then there may have been a great subtraction of people using or availing the system. If it caters to supply, then there may be more supply than demand. Well, the instant action is retrenchment or removal of redundancy. Now, if there could have been a logical hiring process of which once a position becomes redundant or qualified for retrenchment, then there are other possible co-equal displacement probability that can cater these individuals with the same possible return of investment for the system, or at some extent even unexpectedly going beyond expectations. Then, there will be no need for such a retrenchment or removal of redundancy. The basic question will always be, what will happen to a hired worker with only one field of expertise when hired? What if the position becomes redundant and qualified for retrenchment? Well, the hiring personnel might say, I am just doing my duty, or I have no choice but to do what is best for the system. That is too easy to say or execute, but in the first place, have we considered a futuristic viewpoint in the hiring process? Such that what will be the contingency plan for duplication of functions or fallback plans for possible workers which will be victims of the last in first out retrenchment policy? Well, at the end of the day, let us always remember we are dealing with human beings, and each of these human entity will have feelings, esteem, and self-respect to deal with. We are not dealing with cows or chickens or goats that we will just dispose at a better price when we are not already in the capital position to benefit from them. That is the very reason why every hiring policy or specifically hiring opportunity should be based upon the recommendations and survey evidences of individuals directly proposing the need for hiring. The additional research or feasibility clause that will further support the eligibility of hiring or the accentuation of the purpose will eliminate the possibility of indiscretion in the hiring process. In short, the hiring process will not become an agency of creating more joblessness. Thus, the next time you will be asked, what is a versatile hiring process? Well, at least by viewing the ground zero on versatile hiring process, you will be able to give your own viewpoint and share your own ideation. Well, how? Simply by eliminating nepotism and payables in debt of gratitude in the process, and by considering versatile choices in the process of hiring. This is Sir Nhoie's Viewpoints, and we have reached the center of ground zero in the focus point that we have for this moment. Just an issue for a disclaimer: all opinions, views, ideas, and thoughts shared in this video are all general and non-specified concepts. Therefore, similarities and identical systematic presentations are all coincidence and not a pre-programmed intention of this viewpoint presentation. Join me again next time as we will inch closer to the ground zero of present issues concerning our society. Have a clear and logical life, everyone.